Let's cut right to the chase. Welcome to this explainer, where we are slicing through all that AI fatigue you're probably feeling right now. Today, we're unpacking the problem-first path to building truly autonomous agents. We are moving way past those flashy, basic tech demos and getting into sophisticated AI that actually solves your complex business bottlenecks.
Look, there is a massive line drawn in the sand right now between two very different eras of artificial intelligence. On one side, you have passive generative AI. You know, the chatbots that just talk and generate content. But on the other side, that is the true frontier of enterprise value, agentic AI. These systems don't just chat, they actively reason, they use tools, and they execute multi-step workflows totally on their own. They don't just talk, they act.
But here is exactly where so many organizations go completely off the rails. They fall right into that classic hammer looking for a nail trap. If you start with a shiny new piece of technology instead of a specific point of friction in your business, well, that's practically a guaranteed recipe for failure. You have to flip the script, pinpoint the exact business friction first, and only then engineer the intelligence to bridge it.
Honestly, you should actively try to disqualify an agent right out of the gate. If a simple automation script can do the job, do not build an AI agent. You really only want to proceed if your problem meets 3 strict criteria. First, ambiguity. The path to the solution isn't just a straight line. Second, tool dependency. The AI actually needs to query databases or update your CRM. And third, multi-step iteration. The system needs to evaluate its own work and pivot if it messes up.
And that leads us to the absolute foundational step of this whole process, the logic rule. It's simple. If you cannot draw the workflow on a whiteboard, you cannot build an agent to execute it. Documenting the manual process is absolutely crucial. You have to know exactly what tools and data points a human expert would use at every single step. Because if the human logic isn't crystal clear, trust me, the AI's logic is going to be a total disaster.
All right, let's shift gears and look at architecting autonomous systems, building the engine.
So how do we actually build this? It all comes down to a few core architectural pillars. First up is the planning and reasoning loop. For high-stakes tasks, the agent needs a structured way to think through its actions to avoid getting caught in those dreaded hallucination loops. Next up is memory management. The agent needs short-term memory to keep track of the current task, plus long-term memory to actually learn from past executions. And finally, minimal tool integration. Never, ever give an AI full admin access. If its job is to update a lead status, you give it exactly that one specific API endpoint and absolutely nothing else.
You also have to establish incredibly strict safety guardrails. Think of an untethered AI like an overeager intern who just got handed the corporate credit card. You need limits. Setting token budgets is how you cap logical loops and prevent runaway API fees. And equally critical is a human-in-the-loop system. For those really sensitive actions, like sending out invoices or deleting files, the agent must secure human permission before it pulls the trigger.
But how do you know if this engine is actually working? You can't just look at an output, shrug, and say, yeah, it looks good. To guarantee real enterprise ROI, you need a golden data set. That's a highly curated batch of 20 to 50 specific problems where you already know the correct solutions. You run the agent against this data set after every single system update. It's the only way to be sure you aren't breaking old workflows while you're fixing new ones. This perfectly highlights the massive gap between a cool demo and a truly production-ready agent. Cool demos, they start with the technology, and they almost always fail the second they hit the real world. Production-ready agents start with business friction. Flipping that script is exactly how you bridge the gap and start seeing measurable ROI. And that is the secret to taking your organization from just being AI curious to completely AI driven. You have to integrate these autonomous solutions directly into your specific day-to-day workflows. Those generic, off-the-shelf solutions, they almost always fail here because they don't know your proprietary data and they definitely don't understand your unique operational bottlenecks. A custom methodology isn't just a nice-to-have, it's non-negotiable. Look, moving from a concept on a whiteboard to full deployment is definitely not a DIY project. It requires partnering with digital transformation and strategic AI implementation experts. You need specialists who can strategically build and integrate these bespoke frameworks right into your operations. When it's done correctly, this kind of strategic integration allows organizations to reclaim 20 or more hours of operational time per week. That is an absolute game changer for your efficiency. So I'm going to leave you with this question as we wrap up this explainer. Are you actually ready to build an agent that works? Take a really hard, honest look at your current strategy.
Are you just deploying passive chatbots that are wandering around looking for a problem? Or are you ready to target your operational bottlenecks with problem-first agentic AI? The tech is here, and it's time to put it to work.